No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Along with Dave Manouk, I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here to discuss another Winnipeg Jets victory. What's that now, Dave? They're fifth in a row. That's right. I was one off 5 wins in a row. This time they head into Boston, a team that they had previously beat 8-1 on home ice. Tonight, they triple up the Bruins by a 6-2 margin in certainly what was one of the funnier third periods we're going to watch all season long. Hard to believe that, at 11 seconds into tonight's third period, this was a 2-all game, and then the Jets just took it over and utterly embarrassed the not so big, not so bad Boston Bruins on home ice.
Yeah, the Jets demolished them or pulverized them back on December 10th through, and this was a closer affair, and this is a Bruins team that is can ill afford to lose any points because they've got, I think, about 4 or 5 teams within 4 or 5 points of them in the wild card spot, so they're not positioned.
They're a wild card team tells you how absolute god awful the bottom of the Eastern Conference is.
Well,
their goal differential. Do you know what their goal differential is?
I thought it was -10, but maybe it's more.
Oh, it's way more than -10. It's -29.
Ooh.
The Bruins goal differential, and again, I guess you look at Washington last year and they made the playoffs with that terrible goal differential.
Yeah, it happens.
It happens, but the Bruins goal differential is -29 after tonight's game. So, I mean, that is one bad hockey team in Boston, and the Jets toyed with them a little bit, and then eventually just decided, no, you've had enough fun. We're gonna step on your throats.
Yeah, and look, it begins in, we have to obviously start our conversation with the Parker Ford making his NHL debut, the kid from Rhode Island making, went to college at Providence, and we had talked about it, I think not last post-game show, but the one before when the Jets were heading out on the road, and I sort of said, like, look, to me, Parker Ford is a guy who's deserving of a recall. And then when we announced this morning, like when we took note of it yesterday, I should say, Drew, when the Moose were playing in Chicago, I noticed that Parker Ford wasn't in the lineup. Thought that was a little bit weird. I made some inquiries, and then I didn't get much. So I was like, well, my Spidey senses were tingling. And then sure enough, I said, I didn't notice anything that happened to any of the players in the Jets game the previous night in Montreal. And then sure enough, someone pointed out to me on Twitter that Morgan Barron was listed on IR, and I checked the NHL media site. He was, in fact, on IR, and we now know that was because of the Kirby Dach hit. Very bizarre that he's the one who laid the hit. Kirby Dach, flew in the air 1,000 feet, and yet Morgan Barron, and I'm not going to try and diagnose it, but the fact of the matter is, just for those who don't know, Morgan Barron is out week to week, which afforded Parker Ford this opportunity to get a chance to make his NHL debut in a city that is, of course, very connected to him because, like I said, he's from nearby Rhode Island. His girlfriend's family is from Boston, and he grew up as a Bruins fan. So for him to be able to make his NHL debut in the building alone, that would have been something. Jets nice enough to put him in the starting lineup, and then for him to score in his first NHL game, which, because, of course, we here in this media outlet of Illegal Curve cover the AHL, we knew that in addition to scoring in his first NHL game, Parker Ford also scored in his first AHL game right after signing out of Providence College as a college free agent. So he scored not only in his AHL debut as a pro, but in the NHL debut. So impressive performance for him, reminiscent of Nikita Chibrikov last year in game 82 against the Canucks. So that to me is like the story. Of course, Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor performing. Nikolai Ehlers on the PK, Drew. I mean, there was a lot of stuff happening in this game, and it's funny because, like you said, the first and second periods were they were interesting periods, but they weren't particularly like noteworthy. And then all of a sudden you go into that third period, and it's like, boom, 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 goals and things are happening. And yeah, I mean, what was there? I'm trying to think, what was it? 5 goals in that third period. So a lot to diagnose in just that final frame.
Yeah, I guess it was 2-1 after 40 minutes. We'll get into all the goals in the Play Now game recap. So yeah, 5 goals in that third period. This was just the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, they decided that they didn't want to even bother with Boston in that third period. They may have been a little frustrated. They give up that shorthanded goal, a bit of a slow start to that third period to begin for the Jets, obviously, as Boston ties it up so quickly. And then the Jets, just what they do. They just take over games when they want to take over games. And you saw that in the third period. And Boston is not a good hockey team. I mean, let's not sugarcoat anything. Boston is a team that is just, I mean,
they have some good players.
They have a good line. They have
players plural.
Yeah, okay,
I'm not saying like 90% of their team. I'm saying that they've got some good pieces on that roster.
Yeah, they have Pasternak, they have Marchand.
Marchand still got 19 goals.
Yeah, I mean, look, they got they got Charlie McAvoy big back in the lineup, but the depth of the team is just awful. I mean, then you saw it, and they just have no connection. I mean, they made the coaching change earlier, and then they got the dead cat bounce for a little while there, and it's back to sort of square one in Boston. So that's what the Jets have been doing all year against teams that have been worse than they are, teams that are just not as good as they are. And you saw it again tonight. I mean, you saw it. The Jets were in control of this game by and large. Yes. I mean, you can say that. I mean, I think with a fair degree of confidence is that the Jets were the better of the two teams. For the majority of this game, it so happened that they had that one brain cramp, which cost them the lead early in the third period. Mm-hmm. And then they just said, no, that's okay. We are so resilient. Nothing phases us. Yeah, that might have given you a little bit of a boost, but we're gonna, our special teams are so deadly, and we're just gonna bounce back immediately. And that's what they did. And then the rest of that third period was about as sort of comical as it gets. I mean, you hate to sort of pick on Mason Lowry, but I mean, I just don't know what you're doing in that instance. I mean, that's not an NHL caliber play. Nikolai Ehlers is never going to have an easier goal in his career than that one. And just all in all, it's just a thorough victory for the Winnipeg Jets. It's amazing the response that this team has had since last Monday. So what's that now? 10 days ago? Mm-hmm. When they went into Utah and they were whipped by the hockey club, and Scott Arniel said the comments that he said, and the response from the team since then, a team that's shorthanded without 2 regulars in their lineup, and Adam Lowry and Morgan Barron now, and just how they respond and how nothing phases them, and how they just say, okay, we're going to take things over. I mean, we saw it. You probably saw it yesterday on via moneypuck.com. The Jets have not the best gambling odds, but the best percentage based on Money Puck's calculations to win the Stanley Cup. Of all the teams, they have the highest percentage. No, it's not a high percentage by any stretch. It's 13.5% or something like that. And Carolina's got 13.1%. These numbers aren't exact. So it's not a huge margin, but the Winnipeg Jets are just, again, affirming to everybody, one and all, that they deserve to be in the same breath when you talk about Stanley Cup contenders and the Stanley Cup, the teams that really have a chance at winning the Stanley Cup. And the Jets, again, just showed it again tonight that resilience is a big part of being a Stanley Cup contender.
Well, and I think that also the fact of the matter is that we've talked about the depth on this hockey team, Drew, and you just mentioned it. Adam Lowry, who at one point was your second line center, has, been out of the lineup and is out of the lineup, we expect, till at least after the Four Nations, which would be around February 22nd when they play, is it St. Louis in St. Louis?
That's correct. So, that's also a Boston Pizza night. We're going to be live at Boston Pizza on that night. So mark it in your calendar.
So get everyone calendar.
Excited. Take 2 weeks off. We'll be back at Boston Pizza on the 22nd for the Jets and the Blues.
There you go. So, I mean, it's not a small thing given the role he was elevated to, that and the role he plays in terms of shutdown, in terms of just being the leader on the ice, and you require other guys to step up. And so the Jets' depth got tested, and then Morgan Barron. I mean, we talked about how good that that line had been. And then suddenly, the fourth line, and then of course he goes down. So what do? You bring Parker Ford up. And it's funny because like I was having to answer when we posted on Instagram, that on the Illegal Curve Instagram, which I hope everybody's following. People are like, well, why him and why not Brad Lambert? And I said, it's the role. I said, first of all, and then this is before I said, there's a number of factors. I said, one is the proximity. The fact is, as I already expressed earlier, it's the fact that he's a Rhode Island kid about to make his NHL debut in a city that's important. But more importantly, the nostalgia aside, we know that organizations generally don't make decisions. That wouldn't be the first criteria with which why the Jets did. But we heard from Scott Arniel, where he specifically said the type of game this could be. Because remember the kind of game it ended in that third period in Winnipeg, right, with Zadorov fighting Lowry, with
Frederick.
Frederick one punching Gustafson, with who did Stanley fight? What's his name? Kostelek, right?
I don't remember, but
I think it was Kostelek.
Sounds right.
So you had a potential for a more physical game, a game that's going to be played with a little more edge, and that's not Brad Lambert's game. I'm not saying it can't ever be. It's not right now.
Right.
Parker Ford, though, is a forward who plays with. He's like a Brandon Tanev type, and I don't say that because they both went to Providence College, but he just plays that game with he's a little bit of a cannonball. And the truth of the matter is, and as I said two games ago, Drew, when we talked about who would be a recall option, and I said, well, Parker Ford, 7 goals in his last 9 games for the Moose, which, by the way, I heard a lot on the broadcast. It could have been like credit Dave M. But anyways,
no, we don't need to credit Dave M. You have to keep the ego in check.
I'm texting Dan Robertson immediately. Be like, Dan, I need a shout out the next one. Just
he was going to give you the shout out, but because Kevin Sawyer stole his glasses, he couldn't read the notes that he put on his piece of paper. That's the only reason why you didn't get the shout out there.
Okay, fair enough. That makes a lot of sense. But anyways, the point is that he is the kind of player who, is and not only that, we talk about options. Brad Lambert is a top 6 guy. You don't want Brad Lambert playing in the 4th role. That's not where he's suitable. Now, folks would say, well, then bump Nemesnikov down to the 4th line and put Lambert on the 2nd line. But like I said, for this type of game that this was going to be, and look, here's the reality, everyone. The Jets still have 3 more games before the 4 Nations. Mm-hmm. Right, Drew? 3? Like they have the one more against Washington.
Washington Saturday, Tuesday, Carolina, Friday against the
Islanders. So you got 3 more games. I would be shocked if Brad Lambert doesn't play in at least 1 or maybe 2 of those games, because the fact of the matter is you can, and we'll see. I could be wrong, because maybe they really are happy with what Parker Ford did tonight and with that role. So I'm not saying for sure, but I'm just saying that, look, with Adam Lowry out and with Morgan Barron out, there will be opportunity. We'll see. But the fact of the matter is this made a lot of sense for Parker Ford for a variety of reasons. And we saw it. And the organization got rewarded with him getting his first NHL goal.
Yeah, exactly right. Further to your point, which I agree with everything that you just said,
thank you.
These, there's 82 of these games. Anytime you can maybe give a little bit of juice to your lineup and your locker
100%.
room and your dressing room by maybe rewarding a kid like Parker Ford, all the guys in the dressing room, even the ones who were drafted high, the first round picks, can relate and appreciate a guy who was undrafted, who had to do this the hard way. So you put him in the lineup when you get the opportunity to do so, especially in a home game, relative to where he grew up, and it juices the whole lineup. Did you see the bench? Did you see Neil Pionk jumping up and down when Parker Ford scored? Never mind Parker's own family in the crowd. The bench feels that. The dressing room loves that kind of thing. So if you can give a little bit of juice to a game, to make a ho-hum game against a ho-hum opponent, albeit an opponent that, you used to have some, real credibility as one of the top teams in the league. You do that, and that's what Parker Ford did. I thought that the Jets handled that right. I thought the Jets, by the way, handled ignoring Trent Frederick also to be right. I know a lot of people were thinking Logan Stanley, he's going to go after Frederick, or there's going to be a tilt between the two of them. The Jets score very early in this game, which we'll get into momentarily here in the Play Now game recap. The Jets score very early. You almost have a 2-0 lead in the blink of an eye before the Morrissey's goal is called back. Then, of course, you do make it 2-0. There's no reason to bring Boston into the proverbial fight. You're better than they are. There's no reason to help them find some momentum. So you leave him be. You forget about him like, a gnat over here not bothering you. And instead you point to the scoreboard when the game's all over. And you say, in the 2 games that we played against you guys, we beat you 14-3. Sure, you're dirty and you one-punch David Gustafsson, but I promise you 14-3 is a far greater response than anything Logan Stanley would have done in a relatively likely to be harmless and not significant fight, or not specific Stanley, anybody against Trent Frederick tonight. Beat him on the ice, beat him on the scoreboard, and that's a much better way to respond, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, the game was 6 weeks ago. I mean, the fact of the matter is, if it was 6 days ago, I think we have probably a different result. But 6 weeks ago,
Yes.
there's, and I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying, like, I just think that was kind of that seemed to be the message when I was listening to Scott Arneal's media availability from today, was that it's like, we're not saying that we don't expect it, because Boston has that type of element in their game, but the fact of the matter is, it's not because of what happened in the 8-1 thrashing that the Jets lay down on Boston in Winnipeg. So I think this was, this was another one of those games where it was like, okay, listen, we got a mission, and we got to be consistent. And we want, and again, like you said, Drew, there were some areas they're not going to be happy with. The inattention to detail in the third period, which we'll get into when we start the game recap. Mm-hmm. But I do agree with you in the sense that, and that's maybe another reason why that the Parker Ford debut in this sort of environment makes a lot, because this is just like game 53 on the schedule. It's a long season. That's and right. for this to be able to give the team, T. Conapoli wants to give Tyrell Bauer. Don't worry, T. Conapoli, who made a donation. So Drew, you got to put it up on the board.
I'll put it on the screen. The rules are well clear. You give us money, we highlight your comment. We can be bought for as little as $1.
Yes, still could have given Bauer a shift tonight. Of course, then the Bruins would have called up former Moose Jeffrey Viel, and they would have had quite the tilt. But I'm sure if anybody saw the Tyrell Bauer fight from last night in Chicago, which we'll talk about after the break, that fight was quite the tilt. And I'm sure T. Conapoli was all over that. But anyways, what I was going to say is that, to me, the idea that you can get Parker Ford into this game and what it means to him and his family, and by extension, then the team, as you said, Drew, they kind of absorb that energy. And I think it makes a game that is kind of not immaterial, because every game's important and nobody's going to say, oh, well, it doesn't really matter, but it just gives you a little extra juice in a game that really doesn't have a lot. And I think that there's a huge benefit to that. And we'll see if the Jets can, I know that Ottawa was beating Washington.
They beat them. It's over.
Oh, they did beat them. Okay.
Yes, they beat Washington 5-4 in overtime. So in terms of strictly points in the NHL, the Jets are atop. Washington has 3 games in hand and are 2 points behind the Jets. So in terms of points, the Jets are atop. In terms of points percentage, it's still Washington,
right? Which
will make Saturday night all the more fun, of course.
And I think I'll just finish on this one. I think it's important, and this is why we cover the Manitoba Moose, because remember, I mean, we've been talking about Parker Ford now for a while, right, Drew? And it's not like this is new to anybody in our audience, because if you follow us, then you know that what's going on with the Moose, and you know that he's been prolific. But I'm just saying, like, it's just funny because a lot of people forgot, right? Remember, as I mentioned 2 games ago, Parker Ford was the guy everybody wanted as the 13th forward.
Yeah.
Goes down with the Moose. And he was consistent, right? Only guy who played 72 games last year. He was the only guy who played in, I think, maybe not the only one of the only guys who's played in every single game this year, until last night when he got pulled because he got the recall. So I'm just saying, he's a guy who's a hard worker, and there's something, like I said, this will go a long way for Parker Ford. It's going to go a long way for the organization, and you don't want to make it too big, but I just think it is a huge springboard for him and the organization, because you have a guy now who's going to be even hungrier to keep this rolling.
No question about it. I did misspeak. I apologize. The Caps have 2 games in hand on the Jets and are a point behind. The NHL.com hadn't updated with the overtime defeat. So there you go. The Jets 75
they lost in
points.
Overtime today.
They lost in overtime to Ottawa. Yeah. So the Jets have 75 points. The Caps have 74 points, and they have 2 games in hand on the Jets.
Okay, because I was going to say that means, but that means they fought back, because they were down 3-1 at one point, I think. So.
Oh, then they came back and forced overtime before they lost in OT. Let's get into the goal by goal recap. We do this on each and every edition of the Illegal Curve post game show.
The Play Now game recap.
Big thank you to our friends at Play Now for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Learn to bet with Play Now, the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. Sign up and get up to $250 in bonus bets. Conditions apply. 18 plus. Enjoy responsibly. coming into tonight's game, the Boston Bruins had a penalty kill that was in the bottom of the league, not the absolute rock bottom. Their success rate was 75.8%, which put them at 25th in the NHL. So taking a penalty early in the game against the dynamic Winnipeg Jets power play, namely when that penalty is taken by their captain, Brad Marchand, that is a bad idea. And the Jets capitalize 2:55 into the game. Vlad Nemesnikov, he was on the schneid a little bit. He needed to get a little bit of a goal going. It had been, I think, something like 14 games since he had last scored, if I recall correctly. Well, he scored 2:55 into the game, his 10th of the year. He's into double digits like so many of the Jets players are. Assist to Nino Niederreiter, assist to Cole Perfetti. It's not only the top power play that does it for the Winnipeg Jets. Sometimes it's the second unit as well. Not a lot of flash here, but effective winning puck battles, and Vlad Nemesnikov depositing the loose puck past Jonas Korpisalo to give the Jets the 1-0 lead.
And the thing about power play too, Drew, that is so impressive. And I remember early in the season, I don't know what the splits are right now in terms of goals. I would imagine there's a bigger disparity than there was for a while, because for a while it was fairly close. Mm-hmm. But why what PP2 does is impressive is because they do it with a lot less time. And you got to give. Well, I mean, I know it's Captain Obvious, but it's true, right? And so sometimes,
of course, like Captain Obvious. I was just saying, yes, I agree with you.
Okay, but I'm just saying that. So you see what these guys are able to do with this time, and they have diggers, right? You've got guys like Alex Iafallo and Nino Niederreiter who are in front of the net, and you've got Cole Perfetti, who is very good at distributing. And look, I think that was a pass by Nino Niederreiter to Vlad Nemesnikov? I think no. I think he was trying to curl it in front so he could get it to the front of his stick and take a shot. But at the end of the day, a little Gabriel Velarde style. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It ends up in Vlad Nemesnikov, who is completely left open. We often talk about what Jets are doing when you're not paying attention, you're puck watching. Well, the Bruins are guilty of that on this play. And Vlad Nemesnikov gets into the double digits, gets him 10 goals in 53 games for him. And considering he had, I think, 11 and how many he played last year. I can't remember how many he played last year. He's having himself a good season. And though, as you said, Drew, it's been a while since he had scored his last goal.
Yeah, 1-0 for the Jets, exactly how you want to start the game. They appear to take a 2-0 lead. It's called back. It's offside. Josh Morrissey.
Just a bit offside.
Just a smidge offside. Not sure how the
Cole Perfetti should do laps for costing Josh Morrissey a goal on that one.
Yeah, well, that's okay. I'm sure he'll make it up to him. He'll buy him a beer or a steak or something like that. In any event, it became 2-0 just under 9 minutes later. So it's 2-0 barely over the halfway mark of the first period. Mark Scheifele, his 30th of the year, assist to Neil Pionk and Dylan Samberg. And, one of the things that we've heard the Jets take such pride in and have been so good at this year is puck retrievals. Yeah, is winning puck battles. And this is another one where the Jets are able to get a puck retrieval. They move it around. Gabe Velarde moves it around to Dylan Samberg at the point, and then Samberg over to Pionk, and then Pionk gets the shot on net, and Mark Scheifele with the great eye-hand coordination. At first, I thought it was just a whiff by Korpisalo, and then you see on the replay that Scheifele gets his stick on it and deflects it past the Bruins goaltender to give the Jets the 2-0 lead. As I mentioned, this coming at the 11:31 mark of the first period.
And what's the key to this play? The key to this play is that they're not rigid, that they're fluid, and that they're not staying in one spot because, okay, the center has to be here or the winger has to be here. They're able to switch. And so because of that, Mark Scheifele finds some spot. And I mean, look, I don't know exactly what Zadorov is doing there because he is he's not even close to Scheifele. He's a good 4 feet away from Mark Scheifele. Yeah. So he's creating a screen on one end. And the truth is, and why it's such a critical play is that even if Scheifele deflects that and he doesn't score, Gabriel Velarde is set up right beside to put it into the empty net because the Bruins D-man is not covering him either. So I mean, look, it is a great play by the Jets, but it just goes to show you how poor the Bruins D is on this play because they don't give Korpisalo any help there because Scheifele and Velarde, two of the most dangerous guys in tight, are left wide alone and so or wide open. And so Mark Scheifele gets the stick on it. It's a beautiful deflection, like you said, Drew. Wasn't sure when it first went in, but you saw it on afterwards. And look, he becomes the first Jets player to get to 30. He's got the second most goals in the NHL. which is not too bad for a guy who wasn't considered good enough for the Four Nations. And I think, well, he's on pace for 46 goals, maybe more actually after he got his second of the game. But this is a guy who is, again, he's more of an assist man than a goal scorer. And but that is, I think, the fourth time in his career that he's got 30. And like we've said, he's on pace for
one goal away from the franchise record.
Well, the franchise record is held by Dale Howard, is it not?
The Thrashers Jets franchise record. You know what I mean? Don't go all Remus on.
I know.
I
was doing that intentional. Although I will say, to that end, Mark Scheifele was playing in game 8. Here's some minutia for the folks. Mark Scheifele is playing in game 850 tonight, which puts him 25 off passing Blake Wheeler for the most games in a Winnipeg Jets 2.0 jersey. So, of course, he'll eclipse that this year. And he is 101 games away from eclipsing Thomas Steen's mark of 950 games in a Winnipeg Jets uniform. So that one he'll accomplish next year. But he is not next year, the year after that. No, he'll do it next year.
He's got 30 games left this year. And then,
so he'll do it next year. Yeah. So that's, but my point is that, that's not insignificant. And then, of course, with this contract, he will get way past both those numbers to set the new benchmarks.
No question about it. For those of you just catching up, welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk with you. It's presented by Play Now. We're talking about the Jets' 6-2 victory tonight over the Boston Bruins. If you haven't already done so, be sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. That's the YouTube channel. Make sure you're put on your alerts so that you get notified each and every time that we go live. And, of course, be sure to subscribe to the podcast as well, as we do this after each and every Winnipeg Jets game. And again, on Saturday mornings. There is a trade brewing, not involving the Winnipeg Jets. It involves the Calgary Flames and the Philadelphia Flyers. As soon as we have the details of that trade, the final details, we will bring that to you. Andrei Kuzmenko is going to go from Calgary to Philadelphia. Sounds like Jacob Pelletier is also going to go. Not sure what's going back to Calgary, but as soon as we have that information tonight on the post-game show, we will let you know on that front. So 2-0.
Is that because like we're not a Flames team, but because they were an Atlanta-based team, we got to cover what they do as well?
No, just anytime a trade happens while we're on air, it's worth mentioning.
You like to be able to say there's a trade to announce.
Exactly. I don't think I say it like that.
That was the Bettman.
I know. Okay. As
2013.
Long as that wasn't me.
That was a Bettman. It wasn't a good Bettman, but it was it wasn't a Drew.
It wasn't a Mandel.
No.
Bruins cut the lead in half. 2-1. Brad Marchand. He was noticeable tonight. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. Sometimes
Josh Morrissey and Dylan DeMello would both agree after they tripped into the boards.
Well, Marchand has a way of doing that. At least somebody on Boston showing some heart. He gets his 19th of the year, assist to Elias Lindholm and David Pasternak, that at the 15:34 mark. It's on a power play. It's not a smart play by Vlad Namestnikov. He takes an offensive zone holding penalty. Keep both hands on your stick, and the refs don't make that call. But once he removed one hand and he put it on the Bruins player, you could sort of foresee that call happening. And to the Bruins' credit, they capitalized quickly on this one. So it took them all of 16 seconds. That is Winnipeg Jets-esque in scoring that quickly. Great shot by Marchand to beat Connor Hellebuck, cutting the lead to 2-1. And that's where the first period ended, at that 2-1 margin, Dave.
Well, I mean, it's all about the screen. Dylan Sandberg's got to clear the front of the net because you just can't leave. I think it was Lindholm who was taking away the eyes of Connor Hellebuck on this one. First of all, Brad Marchand, excellent shot. But, if you're Dylan Sandberg, Dylan Sandberg's an excellent player, and he's trying not to create a screen, but he's got to realize that, or take a look. I mean, he took a look over his left shoulder, looks on his right, and just allows Lindholm to stand there. The problem is Connor Hellebuck can't see anything except Lindholm's ass.
Right.
So he can't see anything, and he's completely obstructed. So I think Sandberg's got to clear the front of the net there, because it's just an obstruction if you're not, and Connor Hellebuck has no chance. It's a great shot by Brad Marchand, and it cuts the lead in half.
Yeah, and Neil Pionk's caught a little bit in no man's land on this play as well. It was a good power play goal. It was a hell of a shot. It was a hell of a shot. Brad Marchand.
He's got 19 goals. He's 36 years old. He's got 19 goals. He still can get it done.
Yeah, he can still get it done. There's a reason why.
Everybody would want him on his team. You might not like him. Everybody would want that guy on their team.
I would agree with you. 2-1 after 20 minutes. Second period doesn't see any scoring. So it remains 2-1 after 40 minutes. A second period that, I thought was pretty ho-hum for both teams. I thought that was effective for the Winnipeg Jets, sort of based on you're playing on the road. You sort of want to keep things simple, keep things minimalized. They had the power play opportunity. Charlie McAvoy taking a slashing penalty. Jets aren't able to capitalize on that. And then late in the period, Marchand takes that interference penalty, which allows the Jets to start the third period on the power play. And you're thinking immediately, okay, here comes an opportunity for the Jets to regain the 2-goal lead. Instead, the Jets give up a shorthanded goal for only the second time all season long. Elias Lindholm, his 9th of the year, assists to Pavel Zacha. It's a offensive zone draw for the Bruins, so they force Connor Hellebuyck to freeze the puck, make a nice save and freeze the puck, and then it's an absolute clean face-off win by Zacha. He beats Scheifele on the draw right onto the stick of Lindholm, and Lindholm makes no mistake wiring it past Connor Hellebuyck. Bang, bang, so quick off the draw on this one, and it's a 2-2 game, and you're wondering what the heck just happened. The Jets, a team that seemed like they were in control and potentially on the verge of making it a 2-goal lead, instead have the game tied up at 2 goals apiece.
Yeah, and this is just it was just kind of like you said, Drew, it was kind of an unusual sequence. And oftentimes when a power play carries over from one period to the next, they always say it's a little unusual, but you have to give the Bruins credit. I mean, they get a clean faceoff. It goes right to, I mean, it's weird because they've only got the 4 guys on the ice. And it was funny because it was almost like the person who was in charge of the score thing in TSN thought that the Bruins had a power play because they removed the power play from the thing as if the Bruins had scored, but it was like, no, it's the Jets power play. But look, it's just a clean win. And I think it was Kyle Connor wasn't able to get out and tie up a Lindholm stick quick enough. And it's in the back of the net before you can say what. So, I mean, there's not really a ton of analysis there because you can't really, it's just a clean win by the Bruins.
Yeah.
And if Kyle, I mean, we can't really malign Kyle Connor's speed because he saw it and he was evident. It was evident, in the game throughout the course of this hockey game. So it's just, to me, it's one of those plays where it's like, it's a perfect execution, I would say, by Boston, and it results in a goal in the back of the net.
It does. And you're wondering how are the Jets going to respond at this one. And then this is just what I love. I mean, you love to see this kind of response. So 2-2, Boston's feeling great. All of a sudden, it's anybody's game.
The crowd's into it.
Sure. I mean, you heard Frankie Corrado on the second intermission broadcast say, the Jets, they start the third. Frankie was sort of foreshadowing what was happening. He was saying, the Jets start the third. They get an opportunity to, maybe to get that insurance marker instead of making it a one shot. One shot could tie the game. Well, that's exactly what happens. 24 seconds later, the Winnipeg Jets respond. And this is just what separates the mediocre teams or the average teams or the good teams from the great teams. Mark Scheifele, his 31st of the season, assist to Nikolai Ehlers and assist to Josh Morrissey. It's a power play goal, of course, because the Jets were still on that power play. It starts from behind their own net. Morrissey out to Scheifele. Scheifele skates it out. It's a clean zone entry. Not only is it a clean zone entry, but I just don't understand what the Boston Bruins players are doing here. This is both John Beecher and Brandon Carlo. Both of them go over to Nikolai Ehlers. Ehlers is along the boards. I mean, the Jets are in a position to just set up the power play, which is what they're supposed to do. They get the zone entry 5-on-4. You're supposed to be able to set up the power play. Instead, both Beecher and Carlo go to Ehlers. And Ehlers it's a nice pass, but it's a pretty simple read and a pretty simple pass to Mark Scheifele, who is just walks in. I mean, this is beyond just a simple breakdown from the Boston Bruins. This is just horrendous defense. There's just no way to sugarcoat this and anything else. It's nice pass by Ehlers. It's a great shot by Scheifele to roof it on Korpisalo. But what in good gracious are the Boston Bruins doing with the read on this play? Just horrendous. And the Jets take advantage, and all the good feelings that the Bruins had in tying the game are quickly flushed down the toilet.
Well, you remember the Jets are still the number one power play in the NHL for a reason,
Well,
and
but it's
it's
not even I mean, it's a power play goal, but it's not about the power play setup here. It's
no.
about the
Well,
Bruins breakdown more than anything.
sure, but it's also the way the Jets play. It's with speed, right? So Mark Scheifele comes in, Nikolai Ehlers reacts quickly, gets it on his stick and off of his stick back to Scheifele, and you're absolutely right. I mean, the two Bruins going over to Nikolai Ehlers, who's really not in a position of threat at that point,
Right.
and doesn't require a 2-on-1 unless the Bruins, like, again, we don't know what the Bruins power penalty kill structure calls for. Maybe that's where they
Doesn't call for that.
well, I would agree, especially not when when you allow the one guy to pass the puck, which means you've got two. And Zadorov looked over and saw that Scheifele was in a very dangerous, going right down Main Street. And he had shoulder checked originally because, of course, Scheifele's not even his guy. But then when he realized, oh boy, that is there's nobody there, he's trying to get over. And at that point, it's too little too late. And Mark Scheifele scores a beauty. So, that gives him 31 on the season. And it's just, yeah, you're right. It's it kind of sums up. And again, I'm not going to pretend to know the Bruins because I've watched them twice this season. So I don't really have any tremendous insight into this team. Mm-hmm. But to me, this would sum up a team that is a wild card team at best because they fail to use what they could have to build some momentum by allowing the Jets that soft ice. And
their defensive coverage all game long was just awful.
Sure. And actually, it's funny because someone said in the chat that they didn't think Korpisalo was particularly good. I actually thought he was okay in the second, and he actually kept his team in it because the Jets had some chances.
Made that nice pad save, right?
Yeah, so there were a couple of opportunities where the Jets actually could have really blown this game open. But at the end of the day, I mean, again, this Bruins team defensively is just not a very structured team, at least from what we saw tonight and what we saw, obviously, in the 8-1 win. So this is a team that, is clearly not to the same level as the Jets. And then you're right, Drew. And this is one of those chances that this blows the game open for Winnipeg. I should say blows it open because it's only 3-2 at this point.
Right.
But it
gets blown open about 42 seconds later.
No, yeah, but it's not that. It's just that it's the idea that you're not able to use what you just did. I mean, we talk about, the Jets assistant coaches often talk about what a power play can do, which we'll talk about, as you said, in 42 seconds, Drew. Maybe not literally 42 seconds in this time, but 42 seconds in game time. Yeah. And build on it. And they score a shorthanded goal. That should be huge. 2-2. Yeah, I mean, think about it. The start of the third period, you score a goal to tie the game. The home crowd is into it. You need these points. You are desperately in need. The Jets don't need these points. I mean, the Jets obviously want the points. The Jets aren't like, oh man, if we don't get these points, we're going to be in trouble. The Jets have won 4 in a row, right? And they're top of the Central. Mm-hmm. But the Bruins are barely squeaking into the playoffs right now. And you got all these other teams that are behind them.
Right. And they make a great play. To their credit, they make a great play.
That's what I mean.
And game.
So then you think, okay, you got to tighten it up here, right? Yeah. And instead they don't. And the Jets take advantage, and credit to the Jets power play, and suddenly it's a 3-2 game.
Yeah, 4-2, 42 seconds later, in one of the worst goals you're going to see all season long. I mean, it's just
the only good news for Drew. The only good news for the Bruins is that they didn't score a third goal, and that ended up being the game-winning goal.
I feel bad for Mason Lowry's 24 years old. He's played almost 100 games. He's been a regular in the Bruins lineup this year for the last couple of years. To be honest, he has to know better than to do what he did here. The Jets, are keeping the puck low in the Bruins zone. They have an opportunity. Cole Perfetti has an opportunity where he tries to jam it in on the side of Korpisalo. And Mason Lowry, gets the puck, and he has just a brain cramp that you're taught in junior hockey at a very, not even junior hockey, in youth hockey at a very young age, that skating the puck out in front of your net is not necessarily going to be a good suggestion. I know you see it more often where breakouts come in front of the net, but this time Lowry just skates it out right in front of the net, and Nikolai Ehlers is just like, okay, I'm just going to poke my stick on your stick and see what happens. And he just sort of pokes it off of Lowry's stick, behind Korpisalo, who probably hasn't even realized that the puck is in front of him. It was just such a it's such a high risk play with minimal reward at best for the Boston Bruins, which just speaks to their, woeful D zone coverage and their woeful play in their own defensive zone. It's an unassisted goal for Ehlers. It's his 16th. Looking at, and how NHL.com describes each goal, they say it's a snapshot or it's a tip or it's a backhand. They describe this goal as a quote poke shot, which I don't think you get very many poke shots in the course of an NHL season, but that's what Ehlers scored here. He scored a poke shot to make it 4-2 for the Jets at this point in time.
I don't even know what to say. I mean, it's hard to. I mean, you feel bad for the kid. I mean, it's ironic. He and Parker Ford are the same age. He's played over 100 games. Parker Ford's playing in his first game.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, it's a tough. Especially the reason why it's such a tough play for him to do. And we've seen the Jets make this play, and you get burnt by it, right? I mean, if it's Josh Morrissey, you're okay with it happening, with a guy doing that, making that, taking that lane, if you will. Right. But, the Jets had just had good pressure. The Nemestikov line, the Perfetti and Ehlers, who I thought were good tonight. They had a number of chances tonight, and I thought all the lines actually had chances, of course, because the Jets were rolling for a lot of this game. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how much more I can add in terms of analysis, Drew, because it's really just I think the bigger picture to me isn't so much the Ehlers goal, because of course that's more of a fluke. But it's just the idea that the Perfetti, Nemestikov, and Ehlers were creating pressure in the zone.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that, the Jets did what the Bruins couldn't do. The Jets tried to build immediately. You score that goal and you're like, you could sit back a little bit and you could be like, okay, we're regaining the momentum. Let's just kind of get into the flow a little bit. But instead the Jets pushed, and the second line, which again is a line that we have been talking about for a long time, needs to score more goals. They push into the zone, and we're seeing more and more now guys in front of the net, and that's one thing we've talked about. Too many guys weren't even close to the blue paint. Mm-hmm. Now we're seeing more guys in and around the blue paint, and what a surprise! You're getting goals, right? So Nikolai Ehlers, who's got a laser beam of a shot. Well, I mean, like I said, I don't know that
his poke shot is great too. Apparently,
his poke shot is great. Yeah. I mean, that might be the title of tonight. Well, the title will probably be something about Parker Ford, but the poke shot could in theory, actually, I don't think it'll be the Seagram shot of the game because you didn't give it to it yet. Obviously, well, I know why you're not going to, but I'm saying that if it wasn't Parker Ford's NHL debut and first NHL goal, I suspect the poke shot as a bit of a fun thing would be the Seagram shot of the game.
It might have been, I'm not sure, but 4-2 at that point in time for the Winnipeg Jets. I just got to say briefly on Cole Perfetti. I know he doesn't get an assist on this one, but he got an assist on the opening goal, the power play goal. I think he's been playing some of his best hockey the last couple, really ever since the hat trick game.
Yeah.
He's been so noticeable on the forecheck, and sometimes that's where I sort of thought that had been previously maybe disappearing a little bit.
Okay.
That, if he wasn't scoring, you really didn't notice him out there. And there were too many games where he didn't score and you didn't notice him. I've noticed him multiple times, on the forecheck, just, getting his body into the play a little bit more, with him at times there's peaks and valleys, but if he keeps this up, if this is the new normal for Perfetti, then this is what the Jets need. Now, it's a long ways away to be able to say that this is the new normal, and not every game is going to be great, of course, because that's just human nature. It's not great for any of us every single game. But lately, he's been, really, especially since that hat trick game, he's been playing with a newfound confidence and a newfound purpose out there. Even when he's not necessarily on the scoreboard, you notice him, and he's got a purpose to his actions, which I think is huge for him in his development. 4-2 at this point for the Jets, just as quickly as the Bruins had made it 2-all. It takes the Jets all of 66 seconds to make it 4-2. Then it becomes 5-2. Parker Ford, what a reaction, what a celebration, what a night for the youngin'. He gets his first of his career in his first career game, and you know very well that it is our Seagram shot of the game.
The Seagram shot of the game.
I'm certain that his family and his friends that were all in attendance, and Parker himself, will probably tip something back after the game in celebration. Well deserved. They say act like you've been there before, not when you haven't scored in the NHL, not when you celebrate like you've never had the opportunity to do it before. You only get one first-time goal in the NHL. Parker Ford got it. You knew it wasn't going to be a flashy one. You knew it wasn't going to be something where he goes end to end. He gets the assist to Alex Iafallo, and Logan Stanley get the assist. Logan Stanley sort of starts off with a good net drive. Iafallo does what he does with trying to pick up some garbage, and then Parker Ford is able to deposit it past Korpisalo. You could hear the excitement in Dan Robertson's voice, in Kevin Sawyer's voice. You saw the excitement in Parker Ford. You saw the excitement on the Winnipeg Jets bench. And of course, you saw the excitement for Parker Ford's friends and family in the audience. Even the most bitter, jaded sort, including yours truly in that, had to get a smile on their face when you see something like that happen. And that was terrific for Parker Ford. You sort of saw it last year too. Remember, Nikita Chibrikov got his first career goal in his first career NHL game. Yep. So the Jets have been doing something a lot of fun like that as of late. Great for Parker Ford to get that goal.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And you saw he had said earlier in the day during his first media availability this morning, when he was asked, he said, look, his parents were in the crowd, his girlfriend, his whole girlfriend's family from Boston, his sister, her boyfriend, his girlfriend. I mean, he had friends in the building. We know that the entire Friars hockey of Providence, college were cheering him on. Of course, he was the captain in his senior year. So there are a lot of people in Boston. They might be Bruins fans, but they were cheering on Parker Ford when he scored his first NHL goal in his first NHL game. Because look, just making it to the NHL is huge. Just getting a game in the NHL. I mean, we take it for granted because we talk about it all the time. And these guys, 99% of it, not 99%, but a significant proportion of these guys play a lot of games in the NHL that we cover. But the fact, especially on the Jets team, which seemed to have a very little turnover relative to some other clubs. But the fact of the matter is that, for Parker Ford to make his debut, to score in it, is such a huge thing for his family. And it's going to be so much more validation, right? Because we saw it with Nikita Chibrikov.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys get a hunger for what this means.
The only thing that feels better than your first career NHL goal, your second career NHL goal.
Yeah, of course. Well, and again, like I said, while I anticipate Brad Lambert will play, I don't think he's going to play in Washington. I think they'll keep the lineup. Why wouldn't you keep the same lineup? I mean, I could be wrong, but I would think that they'll keep Parker Ford in the lineup. They probably, and we haven't seen the coach's comments. I'm sure you'll play them after the break, Drew, or maybe not play them, but I think you'll read some of the comments, or we can do it now. But the point is that you're going to have to like what you saw, because this is the kind of player we've seen in the AHL, right? And for 35 games with the Moose, while the Moose can't score, he has 11 goals total, but 7 of those goals have come in the last 9 games. And it's all honest with him. It's not beautiful shots from 30 feet out. They're almost all within 5 feet of the net. I'm not saying he hasn't a good shot. He has some deflection goals too. Actually, he scored with, I think, 0.1 second left in overtime to give the Moose a winner. Or actually, no, that was Anhorn, but he took the shot. Parker Ford took the shot. But he's got some goals that are the ones that when I talk about in the blue paint, which is exactly where he is for his goal, right? He's standing in the right spot. The puck comes out to him. He's got decent hands. And like I posted on my IC Dave account, because I did the side-by-side. I've got his first NHL goal in his first NHL game, his first AHL goal in his first AHL game. But his first AHL goal was a home game for the Moose, but he was just coming down the wing. The puck bounces up to him. I don't remember who took, I think it was actually on Sofielbi, maybe who took the shot, and Parker Ford just kind of one times it into the back of the net. And, but knocks it out of the air, I should say, and into the back of the net. So he's got good hand-eye, and he gets the goal. And again, like I said, he's a fun little player. It's a good little story. It's going to give the team a lot of momentum. It's going to have a lot of energy. And I know that they say, let's leave these ones behind, but this will be one that they'll probably drag into tomorrow and on to, well, they'll be practicing in Alexandria, Virginia tomorrow as they get ready for the Washington Capitals, but they'll be bringing it to Alexandria so they can enjoy this one for Parker Ford.
No question about it. Great to see him get that goal. Nice for everybody involved. Jets get one more in the third period. So if you're counting at home, that's 4 third period goals for the Winnipeg Jets. It's an empty netter, Kyle Connor, his 30th. Vlad Nemesnikov getting the assist on this one. It's funny. The Bruins, I think it was probably they were trying to stage a 3-goal comeback with about 4.5 minutes to play is when they pulled Korpisalo. And I guess it's actually a shorthanded goal because Appleton's in the box on this one. It's funny that it took all of, almost 4 minutes of empty net action before the Jets were finally able to get one into the empty net. Connor, his 30th. Nemesnikov, the assist. 6-2, the Winnipeg Jets victorious over the Boston Bruins. 14-3, the Jets win the season series over the Boston Bruins. That's the 2-goal aggregate total. So certainly a one-sided performance by the Winnipeg Jets against the Bruins, and they held them under 30 shots.
I was just going to say, so what is that? Is that the 14th straight game now they've done that, Drew? Or 13th?
Maybe I thought it might have been.
No, I think I misspoke 2 or 3 games ago because I thought when I read the Jets game notes, which I'm going to check right now while we're having this. I don't have them yet. Tisk Jets PR staff, but when I do have the game notes, I will be able to tell the folks. So maybe when we come back from commercial break, but it's either I can look at the last game, I guess, and just add one. Not math isn't that hard, but we'll see if I can figure that out before the end of this show. But yeah, I mean, look, it's just another one of those things where the Jets are doing their best. What did the high danger chances finish at in this game? Sorry to put you on the spot there, Drew, but I'm assuming you got natural stat trick around.
I do have natural stat trick. Highest danger chances were 9-4 in the Jets' favor. 2-1. That's at 5-on-5, of course.
Yeah,
so
of course.
2-1 in the first period, 3-all in the second, and then 4-0 in the third. The Bruins at 5-on-5 had 0 high danger chances in the third period, which tells you the Jets decided to stop toying with them and drop the hammer on them pretty significantly to take tonight's victory.
And look, at the end of the day, this is a Bruins team that was looking for a response. Remember, they got pummeled by Buffalo 7-2 on Tuesday. Right. The Jets are feeling good about themselves. They beat Montreal. They've started off the road trip with, they'd won 4 in a row. And like I said, you don't ever go in and be like, okay, well, we lost, but you're feeling good enough about your game that a one loss wouldn't kill you. Mm-hmm. But the Bruins needed to have some sort of response. They didn't. They showed no life in that third period, or the Jets didn't allow them to have a lot of life in that third period. So it could have been one, could have been the other. But ultimately, at the end of the day, another impressive win for the Winnipeg Jets, the 36th of the season. We are just, again, this is a season, Drew, you often say this, and I'm going to steal it from you. Yeah. I always talk about just enjoy it. I know. And enjoy it while it lasts. And look, at the end of the day, we will have done 82 of these post-game shows. Yeah. And the only ones that are going to matter to we got 400 of you right now in the chat, and thousands who download and listen to the podcast after every single game. But I can tell you, we understand that what matters is the postseason. Yeah. We know that, you know that, and the team knows that. But you can only get to that postseason by playing the right way. And the Jets right now look like a team playing to be first in the Western Conference, which we've talked about how important that is. And so Jets fans, I'm sure, are enjoying. Well, I can see it in the chat. They're enjoying it. It's easier when there's 3 of us, as he's not here tonight, but usually I can pay a little more attention to the chat. I'm trying to pay attention to the chat, so don't think I'm ignoring you. But I'm just saying, I think that it sounds like folks are. Chris Merrill's saying this is fun times. We've got to enjoy it. So I think folks are enjoying themselves. And you know how you can enjoy yourself the best, in addition to listening to Drew and I talk after a Jets game?
Can I guess?
You can guess.
Smashing the like button.
That's a good answer there, Drew.
Yes, got it. Alrighty, so you do that, which is smash the like button. I'm going to smash the commercial button, and then when we come back, we'll give you some more post-game comments about the Jets' victory over the Boston Bruins. Thursday night, Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Jets victorious 6-2 over Boston. It's the Play Now Illegal Curve post-game show. Don't go anywhere.
We want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Center. Holt Dental, the new official dentist of Illegal Curve, has a philosophy rooted in two unyielding principles: genuinely caring about patients and providing outstanding service. Being a patient of Holt Dental means more than just checkups and treatments. It's taking the time to listen and talk to each patient so they can achieve the best long-term health, functionality, and aesthetics for their teeth, mouth, and gums. Conveniently located at Grant Park Festival on Taylor Avenue, Holt Dental is dentistry of the highest quality in a comfortable and relaxed environment. For more information, visit holtdental.ca. Oh, and there's plenty of free parking at the front door, too. Celebrating its 40th year as Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best and most affordable live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For more information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
This January at Boston Pizza, every day is Pasta Tuesday. That means BP's famous pastas start at just $11.99 every single day. Create your own or go gourmet for just a few bucks more. Come on in for Pasta Tuesday pricing any day. Only this January at Boston Pizza.
10 minutes before the top of the hour, welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk with you, talking about the Jets' victory over the Boston Bruins. Sounds like both Joel Farabee and Morgan Frost are going to Calgary as part of the deal. As I mentioned, Andrei Kuzmenko is going to go to Philadelphia. Still being worked on the exact details of the trade, but there you have it. So the Flames and the Flyers are making some moves to change up some of the I'll describe them as maybe depth players on their roster, although I like it more from the Calgary perspective than the Philadelphia perspective, at least to start. And, time will tell on how that works out, but at least, Farabee and Frost are more interesting to me than Kuzmenko and Peltier. But again, this isn't Flames lunch. This isn't Philly diner, or whatever you want to call it. It's just things like this sometimes are interesting when they happen in the middle of a post-game show is all, Dave.
Fair enough. No, I mean, look, when people are interested, we cover the Jets, we cover the Moose, we cover hockey in Manitoba, but the fact of the matter is that, we also like to cover other things here, and these are things that pertain to the Winnipeg Jets. Although, do they play?
I don't.
They still have to play Philly in Philly. Yeah,
2 games. They have to play them in Winnipeg too. It's the last Saturday night. It's March 1st, I believe. It's the last Saturday night home game of the regular season. Is Philly in Winnipeg?
Or April 1st.
March 1st, I think.
Oh, you're saying that's the last Saturday night game in Winnipeg?
That is the last Saturday night home game in Winnipeg this year. Is March?
It's very random that you know that.
They've been advertising it on the boards. It's the only reason I know it. The television advertising has worked. I am right. March 1st. See, the advertising works. Congratulations, Jets marketing crew. I noticed that the last Saturday night home game. I also think I got an email about telling me to buy tickets for that today as well. No, I'm not buying tickets, but Saturday, March 1st, the Jets and the Flyers, and of course, the Jets and the Flyers will do battle in the city of brotherly love on Thursday, March the 6th. Which is also, I believe, a game that we're going to be at Boston Pizza for. So,
Drew, look, it's funny. I've got random pieces of information in my brain. Drew's got random pieces of information in his brain. We all have random pieces of information in our brains.
Well, it's a very random piece of information kind of show. So in that case, it works out very well. Boston Bruins head coach Joe Sacco said for 41 minutes, I thought we played okay. Fine. I would agree with that for 41 minutes. Unfortunately, it's a 60-minute game.
The cliche 60 minutes though, right?
Yeah, 60 minutes is the cliche. Jonas Corposalo says, quote, I got to be better. All of us do. Good insight there. That's why we like to talk to players. And then Brad Marchand says, quote, it seems like every mistake we make, it's costing us. Yes, I would also agree. So those are three very fine, pedantic quotes coming from the Bruins dressing room. If you want tonight, the very very not a lot of insight there, but the Bruins, of course, a frustrated team.
Yeah.
Well,
they're going the wrong way.
Yeah, given tonight's results, exactly right. They're going the wrong way. Scott Arneal talking to Ken Wiebe. This courtesy of Mike McIntyre's Twitter feed. Quote, that was fun watching Parker Ford's dazzling debut, says Mike. That was fun. Great to see for a hometown kid to come in and get a chance to do that in this building. I know him and his family are going to remember that for the rest of their life. Parker Ford talking to Ken Wiebe on scene in Boston. Quote, I blacked out a little bit upon scoring his first NHL goal in his first NHL game, a la Will Ferrell in Old School, giving the answer during the debate. If you remember that classic scene, one of my favorite movies, Old School.
Come on.
So there you go. It's all good news, all exciting things for the Winnipeg Jets in their post-game comments to Ken Wiebe as the member of the assembled media traveling on this road trip for the Winnipeg Free Press and covering it for providing some quotes for us here for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, and no surprise. I mean, it's you can, like I said, I would imagine there's a lot of smiles, a lot of happiness, and the Ford family will be able to remember this one. They remember it anyways, win or lose. They would have remembered their son making his NHL debut, and this is, I think, one of the quotes that Parker had earlier in the day. I just thought was telling, just in terms of. Hold on, let's see if I can quickly pull it up here, Drew. I don't have a second screen. I don't have a fancy second screen like you do.
Yeah, you know what? We can pool our money together and see if you can get a second screen.
It's all good. Don't need it. Got a phone. But he just basically said, they all believed in me from day one. It made me believe in myself. And, when a kid is drafted doesn't mean anything. I try even though I tend to get guilty of when I'm talking about players, I mention their draft status, but the truth is once you're drafted, sure, some guys might get a little bit more elevated than others, but at the end of the day, you have to work hard, and your draft spot or lack of draft spot isn't going to do you any good if you can't do anything. And the fact of the matter is that Parker Ford earned a recall to the Winnipeg Jets. I had thought, like I said 2 games ago, that I thought he had earned a recall before anyone else. But the fact of the matter is that I don't think it goes without. It should be mentioned, I think, that previously, I'm not sure the Jets wouldn't have recalled Dominic Toninato, Jared Anderson-Dolan, Axel Jonsson-Fielby over Brad Lambert and over Parker Ford. So I don't think that should be lost on everyone, that the guys who are getting the recalls were Nikita Chibrikov, Brad Lambert, Dominic Toninato obviously got recalled as well, but and Parker Ford. So, and those are the guys who have been the drivers for the Moose. The vets have not been. I mean, they're getting goals, but they're not
carrying the team like you expect the veteran players to do.
So I just think it's a good way to show your farm team that you're not just calling up the veteran guys, you're calling up the guys who are deserving of a spot.
Hard, you're going to get a call up.
Yeah, true. But I'm just saying that there have been instances in the past where that has not always been the case. And I think that this to me shows that, the merit of what you're doing pays off. And so the hard work that Parker Ford put in to score 7 goals, and that's not all on Parker Ford. He didn't do it all by himself. His teammates helped. But the fact of the matter is the 7 goals in 9 games gets rewarded with a recall, and he gets his first NHL game and his first NHL goal in his home, in as close to a home city as Rhode Island is ever going to have for an NHL team. Sorry.
I think expansion team number 44 is going to Rhode Island. Don't count yourself out.
Fair enough. But anyways, I think it just again gives the Jets, another feather in their cap, if you will, for a young player who's now going to be even more galvanized after this game.
You're absolutely right. Well said, Dave M. And that is a good way to end up tonight's post-game show.
Unfortunately, I mean, T. Kona Bahali, who did make a donation, Drew.
Do you have the clip?
Well, I mean, I've got it on my phone. I don't think I've got it.
I'll tell you what.
Why don't you pull it up on the second screen? You got it on the second screen. I see.
You got to give me a bit of a heads up for that. Why don't you save it for Saturday morning? Saturday morning, we'll play it on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
See, now the problem is, Drew, you said this to me last time, and then if I don't remember what it was specifically about, but I mean, look, everybody's calling for it, Drew. And while they're calling for it, I'll talk about the Moose, and you can pull it up.
What am I looking for? Where am I finding it?
Go on Icy Dave. Type it. Well, all I have to do is go to the Twitter account. Go to Icy Dave.
Okay.
There's Tyrell Bauer. Maybe hold on. While you're doing that, I'll
talk about it. Then I'll find it here.
Well, I'm going to talk about it, but I can't talk about it until I do this. I mean, this doesn't happen without that.
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Minuk Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
I'm a man of the people. I give the people what they want. And what the people want, of course, Drew, is some Moose insight. Well, the Moose, here we go. So the Moose, for the record, were in Chicago. Now, they didn't have, of course, Parker Ford. They didn't have Brad Lambert, and they didn't have Nikita Chibrikov, who's done for the rest of the season with injury.
Right.
So that's three of their top four of their top four scoring guys are out of the lineup last night in Chicago, where they kicked the road trip off. They have a 3-gamer starting in Chicago. Then they go to Milwaukee, where they'll play tomorrow. And then they end in Chicago, where they'll play on Saturday. So Chicago is currently 18 points up on the Moose. And as I briefly mentioned in the last time we talked about the Moose, similar to last year, are in almost the exact same spot. Last place. The records are almost identical. At this point in the year, the Moose have turned things around. But would they be able to get it done? Now, this was in the first period, Drew. If you want to hit play, I mean, this is Tyrell Bauer and just unloading. Well, it was a good tilt.
Tyrell Bauer against who's his opponent on the Wolves?
Oh, what's his name? He's an ECHL guy. I can't remember his name. It's Yannick Turcotte. Sorry. And so Yannick Turcotte, who's up from the ECHL, I think he's only played 4 games in the AHL this year. But these two,
ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
And this is all for T-Cone Pauly, for the record.
During the warm-ups here, and the officials are going to actually.
And now, I don't know what the officials did here.
Away and trying to get to Turcotte. Now they're going to lock horns. Turcotte over top, getting away. Now Bauer starts to tee off. Swinging away are Turcotte and Bauer all the way down the opposite end now.
You want me to keep, should I be doing play-by-play or should I be letting Dan Fink do the play-by-play?
I think let Dan do it.
Shots early on. Now
that was some fist of fury on from both guys.
Over top and gets Bauer flush.
Woo.
Goes over now. Bauer starting.
This is an old school fight, by the way.
Swing around a couple of times. Turcotte trying to keep him tight.
Oh, he's hitting him.
Over the top.
Oh yeah.
Wow, he switched hands even.
Oh yeah, he can switch. He's ambi.
Did you just refer to him as ambi for switching hands? Like
ambidextrous.
Jersey pulling up.
Good to know.
Now Turcotte gets a couple away. Bauer tries to swing over. Saw them.
Okay, there you go.
But the crazy part about this was in Chicago, which I've never seen any other team do. They actually showed a replay of the fight. So it was rather entertaining by what was going on in Chicago. But that was probably the most entertaining part of the game. The Moose gave up 2 goals, so it was 2-0 for Chicago. It was a tight game. It was a 1-0 game for most of it. And Nick Suzuki's brother scored to make it Ryan Suzuki, for the record, scored to make it.
Who played for Carolina tonight?
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, this is not Hurricanes lunch, Drew. I have no idea, but but for the record, everyone who has success against the Moose is getting recalled because Matt Murray got recalled by the Leafs after shutting out the Moose. Dominic Shine, I don't know if you saw that story, who signed his contract.
33 years old.
31 years old.
First game after playing in the AHL and the ECHL for all his career for the Red Wings. That was a great story earlier this week.
And he had 2 game-winning goals against the Moose this weekend in Winnipeg. So Dominic Shine, who played like 468 games in the AHL, he gets his first NHL taste. And then Ryan Suzuki, who scored against the Moose last night, now he's up in the and also
6 minutes and 12 seconds for the Hurricanes tonight.
And for the Marlies, Jacob Quillian, who folks would remember was with Quinnipiac, he had the game-winning goal in the Frozen Four. He was a player who was rumored that the Jets had interest in, and he was supposedly going to come to Jets development camp and then potentially get a contract with the Moose. He ended up signing with the Marlies or with the Leafs, sorry. And so he ended up playing for the Leafs the other night. So lots of guys who are having success against the Moose are getting their chance in the NHL. But the Moose were down 2-0. Ben King, he scored, I want to say it was about 5 minutes to go in the game. So that was his 7th of the year. Actually, and it's funny because Tyrell Bauer, shout out to T-Cone Pauly, he got the assist. He took the shot that Ben King redirected. So all Tyrell Bauer needed was a goal. And suddenly it would have been a Gordie Howe hat trick, but it was not to be. The Wolves put it into the empty net to make it a 3-1 game. And that's how it ended. So the Moose, who had been undefeated at 4-0-1 in 2025 on the road, they lose their first in regulation, and they're going to regroup and try and get going again tomorrow in Milwaukee.
There you go, Dave M. As only he can. The Minute Moose Minute. Excellent job, my friend. Excellent job.
Thank you.
We will next be in action Saturday morning, the Illegal Curve Hockey Show back here on our YouTube channel. So be sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. We're all about the Jets and the Capitals. That's going to happen Saturday night. So that means Saturday morning, the IC Hockey Show, Saturday night, the IC Post-Game Show. So your cue to smash the like button, subscribe, and tell your friends, tell your family. The best place to be after each and every Winnipeg Jets game. And again on Saturday mornings for the last 16 years.
Oh, yeah. 16th anniversary coming up, Drew.
Yeah, exactly. Is the Illegal Curve.
What'd you get me for our anniversary?
I got you nothing at all. But I hope you enjoy it very much. Being perfectly honest,
As you'll get me a present. It's all good.
I'll get you a present. I'll get you something. It's in the mail. Just any day now. It'll come your way. I'm gonna get you a second screen. That's what I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you a second screen for our anniversary.
Love it.
Big thanks to all of you for joining us in the chat. Great conversation. Great chat as always. You make the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, the post-game show, the website a possibility, and so do our sponsors, namely our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club. Rumors this week has 7 shows, all 7 shows sold out. Congratulations to our friends at Rumors. Play Now, they're the title sponsor of the Illegal Curve broadcast. We're big thankful for them. Holt Dental, Boston Pizza, City Place, Seagram's. These are all great companies. They support us so that we can do what we do to bring it to you, and you do what you do to support us in return. It's all copacetic is what it is in that instance. Jets victorious 6-2. So, if you haven't already done so, be sure to keep it locked on illegalcurve.com for all your latest post-game audio, post-game commentary, articles, the morning papers tomorrow. Everything you need, everything to do with hockey in Manitoba is available on illegalcurve.com. We'll see you next time on Saturday morning for the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Big thanks to Dave M., my colleague, my brother-in-arms, for joining me tonight. I'm your host, Drew Mindell. Until Saturday at 9 a.m., we wish you good night and good luck, and thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow @Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.